Hello, my name is Karina Rodriguez, and today we'll be speaking about why Stetson University should establish an equestrian team as a Division One sport. First, we'll talk about the background and history of sports, the NCAA, the Stetson Club team, and compare the team to other types of teams. So first, we must know what the different types of sports are. We have intramural sports, club sports, and collegiate sports. Intramural sports are the bottom level of sports. Now, this doesn't mean they're easier. It simply means that they're the sports with the least amount of commitment. For an intramural sport, the team doesn't have to meet at every practice. The competitions aren't mandatory, and they usually don't get any funding from their school. Um, Usually the most an athlete in an intramural sport has to pay out of pocket is a joining fee, and that's about it. The second level is a club sport. For a club sport, um, for most schools, club sports do receive some sort of funding from their institutions. The practices start to become more mandatory, and the events and shows and the games start to become more competitive as you're actually competing towards something to win a prize or um, a trophy. While for intramural sports, it's usually the competitions are just for fun. And then the top level of sports is col- collegiate sports. Now, collegiate sports receive full funding from their institutions. They are the most competitive, and in order to join a collegiate sport team, you must try out. More the athletes have more responsibilities, and for collegiate sports, most athletes, well, yeah, yes, athletes have to have a certain GPA, or for club sports, it's up to the institution whether to have a GPA requirement. Next, I'll talk about what the NCAA is and what their divisions mean. So the NCAA is the National Collegiate Athletic Association. They are a nonprofit organization in charge of all collegiate sports, and they are who set up all the rules. They make sure that the teams aren't doing anything unfair and keep everything equal and fair. The NCAA has three divisions. A Division One team or a Division One school is the top school. Well, top schools when it comes to funding. To be a Division One school, you spend a higher amount on your teams. You spend more on your athletic department. Um, and usually these are the bigger, well-known schools. Division Two is just a step under Division One, so the athletic budget usually isn't as high. But this doesn't mean the teams aren't as good. A Division Two team could be just as good or even better than a Division One team. What the divisions represent is how much a school is willing to spend on a specific team, or how much the school is able to spend on a specific team. And then a Division Three school is just under that. So it's a school that is usually very small and are not able to afford to spend too much on their athletic teams. At Stetson University, we have 18 Division One teams and 16 club sports. We have a few intramural sports, but because they're intramural and Stetson doesn't fund any of it, in order to join one of those teams, you have to crowd source and try and find somebody on the team already and speak with them. Today we're talking about the equestrian club team. Stetson has 3 teams: the Western team, the dressage team, and the hunt seat team. Specifically, we will be talking about the hunt seat team. So Stetson has from other sports, Stetson has a club team and a Division One team. Some examples are for soccer and baseball. Stetson offers not only the club sport where it's a little relaxed and not as stressful, and they also have the Division One team that usually gets way more funding. For my overview, our main points are: why do colleges have sport teams? Equestrians work just as hard as other athletes, and how will Stetson benefit from having a Division One equestrian team? First, why do colleges have sports? One main reason is direct profit. Now, direct profit comes from ticket sales, branding, and media rights. On average, in 2014, the 10 largest schools in America averaged about $144 million in revenue. So sports are able to bring in a lot of profit for a school, especially if the team is good and well known. Another reason why colleges have sports is enrollment. The UCLA showed that 30% of students plan on playing a collegiate sport in college, and 40% chose their school partly for the social life, which is augmented by having sport games and competitions. On top of that, if um, any schools become well known because of a team. Some schools are very small, and if they didn't have a good team, no one would really hear about them. So it really helps to get their image out there. And then the last reason why colleges have sports is long-term relations. When an athlete is in a sport team, they create bonds with their teammates, and when they travel for competitions, they start to network in that way. My second point is equestrians work just as hard as athletes because they are athletes. Some common misconceptions are that a rider just sits on the horse and the horse does all the work. That's entirely not true. Riders have to have a well athletic body in order to control the animal, in order to stay on the animal. They not only sit there, they have to sit there a certain way. They have to often support their whole body weight on just their toes for long periods of time. On top of that, riding has lasting effects on the body. One of the things that can happen to your human body from riding is SI joint pain. There's a couple ways to get rid of that, but that's just an example of ways that riding affect the human body. And then for other teams, their teammates are other people, which is easier to talk to and explain what they're doing wrong. But for equestrians, their teammate is an animal, so we have to create a connection and train this animal in a way that helps and it makes them able to go into these competitions and win and do well. And then lastly, how will Stetson creating a Division I team benefit itself? One thing is profit. The market for the equestrian market is growing exponentially. In 2019, the U.S. equestrian market size for the whole industry was $102 billion. And the U.S. competition sector of this market was 28.3 billion. So if Stetson created Division I team was able to get its name out there, they could start hosting events and shows at Stetson, which would create an industry of riders in our town and help Stetson increase its profits. Another thing is national attention. Recently, the equestrian world has been increasing. More people are starting to pick up horses, and will pick up horseback riding. And yeah. And then another way that this Division I team will benefit Stetson is sponsorships. In 2019, Hermes actually sent the SCAD equestrian team about 8 saddles, and the point isn't that SCAD received saddles. The point is that a company as big and well known as Hermes helped to spread the word to the world that SCAD not only had a good equestrian team, but that it was a school, and now SCAD is even more well known on a national level because of this. And then lastly is team pride. Currently the Stetson equestrian team isn't under the sports page at Stetson on the Stetson website, and the only way to even know that Stetson has an equestrian team is to go and actually type in equestrian, because Stetson doesn't offer any advertisement for the equestrian team because it is a club sport, but the team could do so much more and give so much more back to Stetson if Stetson put in the time and gave the equestrian team a Division 1 standing. And then I'm going to compare the SCAD's Division 3 team with Stetson's club team, just to show that what the differences are, because SCAD is a school that is doing very well with their equestrian team, and their equestrian team is one of the best in the nation, and yet our team has been able to compete against them and hold their own against them. So for Savannah College of Art and Design, they get free lessons multiple times a week. Their riding and team gear is provided to them. They have private riding facilities close to campus. They have personal coaches and team workouts, and the athletes pay no out-of-pocket cost. So the athletes are able to go in and only worry about improving themselves and their riding skills. For Stetson University, each lesson is $50, and most team members can only afford to have one lesson a week. Nothing is provided to the Stetson team. Where we train is a host barn that's far from campus. We don't have any personal trainers or a head coach. Everything is out of pocket except for meals when we're at competitions and the Airbnbs. We also have no team workouts and no trainer. In conclusion, Stetson creating a separate equestrian team with a Division 1 standing wouldn't only increase team pride and give Stetson equestrians the respect they deserve, but also open Stetson to more opportunities. Thank you.